into Overreaction Monday. The Monday overreactions are one of my favorite things to do here on the Field of 68. We asked you to hit us on Twitter /X/ whatever Elon's new platform is with your overreactions for us to react to. So Dagan Hughes, our producer, if you could pull us up with our first overreaction that we are going to have to discuss. It is from at Matt Gurney 901, whose name is hashtag God Got Us. Memphis has a legit shot at a Final Four run. Mike, I'm going to you first on this one. What do you think?
I don't think that's an overreaction. And look, there are some indicators that, are somewhat negative when you look at the turnover rate for them. They still turn over at a decently high rate. They get beat up at times on the defensive glass. But that trio of guards, man, you could stack them up against anybody in the country. I mean, truly. I mean, not only the fact they can score on all three levels. All three of them are shooting over 40% from three. I love the rotation that they've found and the way they've blended Cisse and Danja together. That's a really, really core group of bigs right there. But yeah, look at their resume, right? I mean, they've beaten Michigan State, they've beaten UConn, Clemson, Ole Miss, and the reason why I don't think this is an overreaction is because I think this is the year where Penny gets off that 8-9 line, and I think they're going to be more like, if they run the table in the American, or at least do extremely well like we expect them to, can they get to that like 4 to 6 range? And if they do, they're going to set themselves up nicely with that backcourt to make a run at this thing.
Jarrell?
I think it's not an overreaction. The thing with Memphis is, I could have said it could have been they're going to get bumped in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and I would have been like, that's not an overreaction either. Just the highs and the lows. Memphis is all over the place with me. They obviously have shown the capacity to beat really high level teams, so I feel like they can beat anybody. But if you watch them long enough, you also feel like they had those moments and those days where they can almost lose to anybody too. But just from a talent standpoint, like y'all said, man, their backcourt, those guards are dynamic, man. Those dudes are tough. They all can defend. They all can shoot it. They all can make plays off of the bounce. They're going to be a tough out, I feel like. I think everything Mike said was spot on. It's going to come down to seeding with them. But, first and foremost, they just going to have to go to their conference play and roll, man. That's going to go a long way for them because they got enough quality victories and big wins to get a really high seed now, as long as they can handle business. Like, don't get me wrong, it's going to probably be some stumbles along the way, but it can't be a lot and a lot of bad ones, kind of like they did last year. It got really ugly there for a while. But if they're able to handle business and win most of the ones that they're supposed to win, they'll be fine. They'll be a 4 seed, a 5 seed, somewhere in that area, maybe even higher if they really roll through their conference play, which shouldn't be a problem with them just based off of the talent that they have. So it's not an overreaction, but I'm still just, if things are up in the air with Memphis, man, they all over the place with me.
Yeah, look, if they win 16 games in league play, then I'm in on them, right? They're going to lose a couple. They'll probably at Florida Atlantic, at Wichita State's tough, at UAB's tough, right? They'll lose a couple in league play. But if they get 15, 16 wins in the AAC, then I'm in, yes. They not only can they make a Final Four, I think there's a real – this is not like saying, they can get lucky and make a run, right? I think there's a real chance that they can make a deep run of the tournament. But if they win 11 games in the league, I'm not buying it. The big thing with Memphis, I said this the other day, if they're reading their press clippings, if they're checking their social media, if they're looking at their mentions, right, anytime they do something good, they immediately they lose it, right? Because they feel themselves a little bit. So I don't think it's an overreaction, but Jarrell, I like your take. I don't think losing in the first round would have been an overreaction either. Number 2 on the Monday overreactions list, Indiana from the Field of 68 freak. Oh, look, it's Goodman's Burner, the Buzz King. Indiana will fail to qualify for the Big Ten tournament. I got to go to our Big Ten guy first on this one, Mike. Break it down, man. Reaction, overreaction, fair, not fair? What do you got?
I'm going to say it's just a slight overreaction. And the reason I say slight is, for those of you who don't know, to get into the Big Ten tournament, you need to be a top 15 team in the conference of an 18-team conference. So the reason why I say slight,
make it 16, man. That's insane. By the way, that's the craziest thing
I think it's just
ever done.
I don't know. I mean, it just they didn't want only Minnesota and Washington to be the sole two. There's at least a little bit more intrigue. There's at least a little bit more intrigue with having that 15 or 16 team in there, because I truly believe, like, you go from 5 to 16 in the Big Ten. It's interesting, man. I think there's not going to be too many games separating those teams, and we're going to get to late February and March, and anytime you can have meaningful games for like a 14 seed in the Big Ten, potentially having to play for their lives to get into the Big Ten tournament, like I'm all for that. But the thing with Indiana right now is I would have liked to see them be a little bit further development, with their progress to this point. I mean, this is a team that was picked by some people to win the league, and now we're talking about them being on the bubble. Are they going to make the Big Ten tournament? That's a pretty far fall. So I do think it's an overreaction, but I would have liked to see a little bit more progress at this point. I think a lot of it draws back to the non-conference schedule, because when you schedule like this, you put yourself behind the 8 ball, because you don't know exactly what and who you have right now, because you haven't tested yourself enough. And now you're going to have to learn in Big Ten play, and that may cause a couple stumbles here and there, and we'll see if they can regain it to keep themselves firmly in that middle of the pack. And who knows, if they turn a corner, try to find themselves as like a top 6 or 7 team in the conference, because right now the way that they've been playing, that feels like it could be their ceiling.
Terrell, what do you make of this, man? Can Indiana make the Big Ten tournament? That's a wild sentence. I can't believe I just said that.
It's crazy, but I don't think it's an overreaction. I do not think it's an overreaction. I think it's possible. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I think it's a lot more possible, kind of like Mike just spoke to, than people realize. Like, with these extra teams, man, the Big Ten is gonna be tough this year, and it's gonna be a whole lot of parity, and there's gonna be a whole lot of those teams just in the middle, kind of beating up on one another. So my suggestion to them was they really need to get off to a good start, and I'm not sure that that's gonna happen. But if I feel like they're just kind of in one of those situations right now, they're not playing great, they haven't been impressive even in the wins. That if things kind of start to go left, that it might be a locker room that kind of implodes. We kind of were talking about Kansas State earlier, man. This is like, I feel like this is kind of in line with that a little bit. Like, man, the more passing every loss is, everybody gets a little bit more tight, a little bit more heavy, and obviously they already having some other issues going on with the team as well too. With players on the team. So I think it definitely could happen. I'm not sure that it's gonna happen, but I will say this: if it does happen with the roster they got, that would be a damn shame. That would be a damn shame, man. With all that talent on that roster, every time they went and got a guy this year in a transfer portal, I'm just like, damn, Indiana's gonna be so good next year. They're gonna be loaded, and for us to even be having this conversation is kind of a slap in the face, I feel like. But here we are.